Hey, morning to you. Having my third cup of coffee today, and I was watching a podcast with my man Joe Rogan. I don't know if you heard about him, but if you haven't, then check him out. Joe Rogan, super cool podcast on YouTube, and just talks about everything between, you know, heaven and earth. So I was listening, and they were discussing things like can occur actually to anyone in life, right? And but they were specifically talking about certain countries who has really supreme economic power, uh, who is bullying everything from countries to movie producers, into doing what they want and taking specific turns, just removing certain characters from movies to making different choices. I don't know. This actually applies to, most people, I guess, been in a situation where someone told you that you have to do what they tell you, and in order for them to back you up later, or maybe right now. And the thing they were talking about on the podcast was the fact that we need more people to stand up to those type of people or countries, or that kind of bullying. And my take on it is that it's very easy for people to say that others should stand up for themselves when they have nothing to lose themselves. Because if you don't do it, someone else will do it, and they will reap everything that you worked for, and they will get all the money, because the people who is trying to bully you doesn't really care about quality. They just care about people doing exactly what they want, right? So I'm just saying that when people are looking from the outside, it's very easy to say things like don't get bullied, don't do what they tell you, stand up for yourself, and this whole whatever, right? And I mean, for me, it's actually something that I do myself. But I just wanted to say that even if you're standing up for yourself, the cost will most likely be tremendous, and you will probably have to work 500,000 million times harder than a person that just bends over and accept being a sellout. And at one point you have to make a choice where, like, do I want to provide for my kids or myself, or do I want to stand up for myself and never bend, blah blah blah. And sometimes I guess everyone has to bend for another person's will or thoughts, or but of course the contrast, or the scales of the different things can be huge. One thing is, someone tells you that I'll give you $20 if you go to the store and buy coffee for me. And you can say, listen, I'm not your fucking servant, you can go get your coffee yourself. Or you can, like, oh, he's a friend or she's a friend of me, so all right, just I'll do it. The person is probably busy and they're not reflecting on that. They're asking me to do something that they can actually do themselves. And then you have bigger things like people are asking you to, you know, remove your morale, right? Maybe they want you to be like a silent racist, and you know, it can be everything. Just if you start a business and someone is asking you to do what they want with your business, if you're doing that, then you're selling out. And you always have a choice that you don't have to do it, but you always have to realize that the people who has a lot of money also has a lot of power. And if you're not one of those guys, then the likeliness that you will have to work very, very hard to reach your goals is, you know, it's a high percentage of you having to work much harder than you would have to if you just did what they ask you to. Maybe you're not even gonna reach your goals. You know, maybe you will face such hurdles, and it's just gonna feel like it's impossible for you to reach your goals, because those people will stand in your way and prevent other people from supporting you and just shit talk you so much that you'll eventually go bankrupt, or, you know, whatever. It can be everything. It can be you playing a game where people shit talk you into such an extent that, you know, you just feel like the rewards from playing that game isn't high enough for you to actually log on anymore. It can be that you run a business in real life, and some people are preventing others from buying, or, you know, they just spread shit rumors about you. And I don't know, it can be like everything. You can be the president of a country and people fucking sandbag you and talk shit in media, which isn't true, right? And maybe they do that because they want you to do something and you're not willing. And a perfect example of this is, you know, well, no, fuck it. I'm not going into politics. That's just lame. So what I wanted to say that you always have a choice, right? But always realize that the cost, your choice always has a cost. And you have to be willing to take that cost, because not being a sellout is probably the most expensive thing in the whole world. When you're a public figure, or you're doing things, you're running a business, not being a sellout, I would say, is the most expensive shit in the whole world. So when you're in your late 90s or whatever, lying on your deathbed, you can look back and you can tell yourself that, you know, I never sold out, I never bent over, I never did stuff when people said, come on man, why ain't you taking the spliff of that, you know, whatever, you're smoking some crack or marijuana or whatever, and you're like, fuck it, dude, I'm not doing drugs. And a lot of people is gonna say, oh, you're such a bitch, but, and you can be, okay, fuck it. Or you can be like, well, you know, I'm a bitch. If that's being a bitch for not being a fucking junkie, because I don't wanna, then, you know, then I'm a bitch. And it can be bigger things that you can look back on and think, you know, if I did what those guys wanted, I could have had an easy life. Could have been a millionaire many times over, but I chose not to. A lot of people will probably respect you for taking or making those choices, but in the end, it all comes down to what your priorities are. Is it being true to yourself and true to your friends, or is it having an easy life? But I always remember that the most expensive thing in life is having a morale and being true to yourself. So thank you for listening. This is my cup of coffee and a spread of bullshit.